and now the head coach of the Drury women's basketball program, Amy Eagan. And, Coach, first of all, don't you love this Zoom? I mean, this is how you were introduced.
I love it.
But it is kind
I
of
love
fun,
it.
right?
It is. It is. I mean, it's been amazing. Just even I think outside the basketball world, how much just at this time connecting with old teammates or connecting with old friends and doing Zoom, meetings, those kind of things. I've had the opportunity to do a couple of those. It's pretty cool what you can do these days and how you can still stay connected.
Probably fascinating too, the fact that like the kids that you're recruiting, this technology is like, the back of their hand. They know it so well. They just adapt and adjust, and so for them it's probably like, oh, this is normal life.
Yeah, I think for them, I think obviously it's a little bit of adjustment and some questioning of whether they're going to get to play this summer and stuff. But for them, I think it's really, really easy. Hey, let's get on, let's talk about the program. And I think they're really comfortable with it, at least a lot more comfortable than I was at the beginning.
Has your phone stopped blowing up yet, or what's your communications like?
Really, it hasn't. It's been pretty nonstop from early morning to late night. I did take Sunday afternoon and evening kind of off away from it a little bit as much as I could, just to kind of regroup and, get some time away, I guess, and really get refocused for this week and what was going to happen this week. And of course, I had to watch Michael Jordan, so that was definitely a put your phone on do not disturb time.
Was that not the most riveting television? I mean, I would imagine, I don't know exactly how old you are, but that MJ was an icon in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't remember him in college. I was young enough that I don't remember him playing in college, but I did get to watch NBA with him. And again, I don't want to date myself, but I did get to watch a lot of NBA with him. And man, just now all this kind of resurfacing with him and kind of revisiting him and how great he was. And really, I think the neat thing even about the first two episodes is just his talk about what it takes to be great, and the sacrifices and kind of what it looks like. I think, younger kids and, I've kind of asked all of our recruits that we're talking to, have you watched it? If not, if you want to be great, it might not hurt watching it just to get some tips on it.
Of course, it changes when you go from collegiate to professional, and that relationship from player to front office with coaches. But I'm curious, because now that you're in a leadership position, what it's like to have players sort of want to run some of that authority or have some of that autonomy in terms of, hey, I'm the player here. Let me do what I want. But in college, I know it's a little bit different than the pros, but how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah. I think, the older kids get and the more mature they get, I think, they like to have a little bit of voice in kind of, what they do, what makes them successful. And I think at that point, like Jordan going to the NBA, he probably knew what he needed at that point. I think you get to that point in your career that you kind of know, like, this is what I need to be in shape. This is what I need to be great, and I always think that the goal, even of college kids, is as you develop from your freshman year to senior year, really realizing like what you need, what rest you need, how many times you need to be in the gym a week, because I think that's different for every player and every kid with it. I've kind of got a good example of it myself, just because when I was in college, obviously being coached, and then, I went overseas and played for a year. And so you kind of hit that professional basketball side of things, and it's just way different in regards to, it is like, hey, you go do what you need to do to make yourself successful. We'll be here to support you and obviously put you in positions on the floor, but they put a lot of trust in you that you know what you're doing for yourself.
Hey, if your players, though, asked you like MJ did to Jerry Krause, like, hey, you want to take some layups with us? They don't need to lower your rim. You might beat them actually out there with the career that you had, Coach.
I don't know about that. That's probably one of the hardest things too. As you get older, you lose some of that skill and the ability to do some of those things. So I'm definitely not as good at demonstrating as I used to be, and that's why I hired kids and young people that are able to do those things.
Where did you play overseas?
I played in Norway for a year. And in Oscar basketball club, and it was a really good experience. It was different in regards to kind of like I said, you go in there and it's a lot of business, business, business. It's not the same as having those relationships with your teammates, those kind of things. You pretty much show up, you do your job, and I had to do a lot of. I coached like a younger team, and I had to do a lot of appearances at schools, those kind of things. But it's a lot different than the college atmosphere.
Did you enjoy life in Norway, or I mean,
I
what are the
did.
big
I did.
differences?
Yeah, and this was obviously a few years ago, but it's really laid back over there and relaxed. And I kind of felt like I was living a little bit like maybe 5 years in the past compared to how fast the States are. So it was a lot more relaxed. Every day you'd walk down, you go to the bakery, which was fresh bread and, those kind of things. So it was different in regards to some of that, just a little bit more laid back. And then, kind of the opportunity to travel a little bit while I was over there and see other things, went to Denmark and just Sweden and, just seeing some different parts of the world that you don't always have the opportunity to do.
I would imagine that really sort of evolves you as a person, just getting those opportunities to see how other people live.
Yeah.
All of that kind of combines into what makes you now a head coach, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from, my head coach and assistant coach in college to even, some of my high school coaches, and then, having the ability to work under, I think a really, really great coach, and then, taking the program on myself. And yeah, I think you just learn kind of what you like and what you don't like, and that helps you form your own philosophy with stuff. So definitely even going over there and having the opportunity to learn from someone new, a different coach and a different style and a different way of playing. I think there's always things you can take from those situations, whether it's good or bad, but it helps you form who you want to be as a coach and what you want to do as a coach.
Amy Eagan is our guest here on Jock 98.7, head women's basketball coach at Drury University. You're taking over a program that has a lot of success, and you were a part of it last year. And I would imagine, knowing what it takes to be successful in this role has got to be beneficial. You're not coming into a scenario in which you don't know
Yeah.
the program, the people, the facilities. So you kind of have a leg up in that regard. But I would imagine there's still been, challenges here even the last week and a half of taking the lead role.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think there's always those challenges, and right now people are all like, "How are you guys going to do this again?" You graduated Haley, you graduated Deja, those kind of things. And the biggest thing that I'm going to say with that is, I think our expectations are going to stay the same. I mean, I think, if you would be around our kids at all, they expect the same outcomes and the same situations as this year with stuff, which is great. And, obviously I expect those things too. We have the ability to do those things and we're going to do those things. But what people have to understand is that, there's never going to be another Haley. There's never going to be another Deja. That's just how it is. Just like, any current player here, there's never going to be another current player that is the exact same type of player. But it doesn't mean you can't accomplish the exact same things. We have to make adjustments depending on our personnel maybe, and adjust to what's going to make us successful and put us in a situation to be successful. So I definitely think, that first and foremost, that our expectations are going to be the same. We expect to do those things, but it may look maybe a little bit different because we don't have the same players every single year. And that's with every single team. I mean, as a coach, every year you're adjusting X's, O's, and everything based on your personnel, your strengths, your weaknesses, those kind of things. The transition for me has been a lot easier because I have been in Springfield, and I've already established a lot of, I think, really good contacts and really good relationships with a lot of people. So that has made it really, really easy in regards to just being comfortable with stuff. Obviously not being on campus right now, that's hard, but that's easier for me because I've already been on campus. I know the people on campus. I know Drury. I know what to sell with Drury, So that transition has been really, really easy. And then the kids, oh my gosh, they're awesome. And I've had some Zoom meetings with them and really just talked to them a little bit more. And I just think they're really, really invested in the program and each other. And they're making it really, really easy as well. So a lot of things that kind of just fell into place that I think, for us, for me, and for the kids are going to make it a really easy transition.
Let's say you're closing out, you're the closer here, and I'm the recruit, and I'm choosing between Drury and another school. What's your closing statement to what makes
Oh
Drury the place?
gosh. Well, I kind of adjust closing statements and thoughts and recruiting based on a little bit of the kid with it. I mean, we are going to really, really sell. And of course, you're talking about every kid's different with kind of what offers they have and what looks they have, whether it's D1, D2. So you kind of know at that point what you're kind of selling against. But I think the biggest thing that we sell here is the experience. I mean, our kids get to play in front of an average of 1,700 fans every single night. You look up into the stands, and it's just a really neat experience when you talk about that. On top of that, the support that they have here academically from everybody on campus and from just the athletic department is unmatched. I mean, I can't tell you how many professors I've reached out to and said, "Hey, do you mind like calling this kid?" "Oh yeah, absolutely." So I think we just really, really sell the experience here. It's just something that not every kid at Division II, and I will tell you, not a lot of kids at Division I get.
The experience of a game night at the O is unmatched, I think, in
Yeah.
Division II. I mean, from the production standpoint, there's a whole team that really invest a lot of time into making sure that it's run in a professional manner. And I think it's obvious when you go into different gyms like you do in the GLVC, some that do and some that don't. And I
Hmm.
think you guys at Drury have done a really nice job of just not only limiting yourself to what you expect to see at D2, but you probably put on a better program than what some do at D1.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean
and I
that.
would 100% agree with that, and I appreciate that. I like to say this because obviously I came from an outside perspective in another school in the GLVC, and I played at every school, in the GLVC. I shouldn't say played, but I've been on staff, and my teams have played at every school in the GLVC. So I think every game stood in O'Reilly and stood beside our GA Julia Wells, and I think every game said, "Do our kids realize how lucky they are to be in this situation?" And I think, she would just look at me and smile, and we just knew like it's just a special experience. And so I think, just from that perspective, and sometimes that's a little bit hard to explain to kids until, you can get them on campus and get them to games and those kind of things. But I think once they see it and understand it, it's something that you just, like we said, you don't get it a lot of D1s and a lot of D2s.
You talked about this a little bit during the introductory Zoom press conference, but maybe picking up on some defensive cues last year and
Hmm.
and knowing how to teach those. I mean, were there things that you picked up? You've been around the game for a long time. I mean, I don't know how
Oh, absolutely.
substantially different they could have been, but I'm just curious on what that experience was like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very fortunate last year, and I knew that was something that I really wanted to learn. Again, being on the flip side of it and being a coach trying to prepare for that kind of defense, it's really, really hard, and you don't have a lot of time in a lot of situations to you usually have quick turnarounds, and so it's hard to prepare for that. So, absolutely, I was soaking it in, trying to learn as much as I could with it, and obviously taking notes on it. And, I think we want to continue that, and we are going to do everything we can to recruit to continue that. Now, if we have to adjust every year, a little bit here and there based on our personnel, we'll do those things. But I think it's definitely a defense that's exciting for people to watch. It's exciting for our kids to play in, and as a coach, very exciting to coach. So we're definitely going to try to continue that.
Amy Eagan is our guest here on Jock 98.7. From different places that you've been,
Mhm.
your head coaching experience, have you ever taken over a spot that was this successful going into year one?
No, I haven't. In a lot of the situations that I stepped into, there was a lot of talent, but just not a lot of leadership. And this is kind of the opposite. I shouldn't say the opposite because obviously there's a lot of talent here and some great leadership. So I haven't. But, I think just from my standpoint and having head coach experience, I'm going to be who I am and do what I do and do what I know has made our program successful in the past. And then obviously, like I said, with the transition here, I already know the type of kids, I already know those things, and they fit exactly the style that I like. So uh, I'm excited that I think it's going to be easy, but at the same time, I understand everybody's like, well, you got to continue, you got to continue to do what's happening here, and I get that, and I accept that challenge.
So I sort of prided this, but I got to go back to it because I would imagine that when you left Truman State, there were some people who were pretty hurt. I mean, because you played there, you were the head coach there, and now you're leaving to go to a school that's within the same conference, but on a totally different plateau.
Yep.
And I'm sure you've come to some sort of grace with the idea that you just aren't going to be able to please everybody. If they're still upset that
Yeah.
you left, then so be it. Let the haters hate. But even as a human being, I know that because, we take criticism on this show. It's not fun. Like when people say things
Yeah.
about you that you read or you get an email, it's not a whole lot of fun. And so,
Yeah.
in some ways, you have to feel justified that this turned out to be the head coaching position. And I don't know. I guess for you professionally, how challenging was it to make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was obviously, being my alma mater and then having some success there. Um, the hardest part was just leaving the people and leaving my kids there. When you recruit kids and as you build those relationships with them, you get pretty invested in them, and I was pretty invested in them, and they always are taking chances on you as a coach and investing in the program as well. So that relationship was hard, and that was really the thing that when I was really looking, I was like, gosh, how can I leave these people, because I just loved them so much. But at the same time, you're always going to have people that like you said, you're going to have some people that hate you, some people that love you, some people that get it, some people that don't get it. And I can say that, you just kind of have to understand those things and just kind of let those things go with it, and that's part of anything, I think, in this world. You're always going to have people that support you and always people that question what you do. But if you stay true to yourself and what you want out of life, I think, you'll be happy. And I definitely think I made the right choice. Whether even the head position would have opened up this year, I definitely think I made the right choice. And I'm happy and got lucky and fortunate that it worked out. So now maybe those people that were haters are like, oh, well, I get it. But beforehand, they may not have. So again, it's just, it's a part of the coaching world, it's a part of life. And just staying positive and understanding the people that are in your corner and they get it are probably the true people that you need to have those relationships with.
Well, you can't say it, but I will. I've been to both Kirksville and I've lived here in Springfield. And let me tell you, I think from a living standpoint, I think you got the better end of the bargain there. So, plus
Well,
you've done considerable time in Kirksville, considering you played there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the good thing about Kirksville is my parents lived about an hour away, so that was hard. They were able to make a lot more games than they'll be able to make down here and that. But I've already got, I feel like, a really, really good group of big friends down here and able to do things and that I just wasn't able to really do there because of how small it was and those kind of things. So I have definitely built a lot of really good relationships here, and I have a lot of fun down here. I love Springfield, so it's a great place and great people, and a lot bigger than Kirksville.
What's a typical Amy Eagan practice run like?
Yeah, so um, again, we'll just kind of depending on time of year and those kind of things. But we're going to start out, we'll do a little bit of a warm up every day. That may be different. I'm pretty detailed with some of the teaching we do. So we'll have some breakdown that'll lead up to some full type stuff. We'll do defense first, and it'll probably be half a practice of defense, and then or maybe a little bit more than half a practice, and then the rest will be offense at the end. And just for a few reasons, because first and foremost, I'm always a big believer that defense wins championships. So that's going to be our first focus. And I want our kids to know that's the first thing we're going to do and focus on every single day and in games. And then also, I think, offensively, when you talk about executing offensively and shooting and those kind of things, hey, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit tired in practice when you do those things. So we'll do that towards the end, and in between it'll just be a mix of things that I feel like we need to work on, but that'll kind of be a general setup. I'm pretty big on 2 hours a day. I don't really believe in going over 2 hours a day. I feel like I should get everything out of the kids possible. I feel like they should give me everything they have in those 2 hours with it. But we'll also have on top of, some of that weights and some shooting workouts, individual skill workouts with coaches. So we'll keep them in the gym and busy. It just won't be all at once with stuff.
I say this in the most endearing way. I really hope that people, when they turn the page, understand that now it's the Amy Eagan show at Drury, because a lot of people will, and this will get annoying after a while, they'll talk to you and they'll say congratulations, and then they'll immediately talk about Molly Miller. And,
Yeah.
and at some point, the page has got to turn. Molly has a great legacy at Drury. Then there's nothing, you'd want to do to strip any of that away. But now it's the Amy Eagan show. And you're going to run this program hopefully just as successfully, maybe even more successful. But this is it. Now it's time you got the keys. You're the driver.
Yeah. And I do think, when you talk about the history of Drury, Lady Panthers, and what's happened here, I mean, Molly is a really big part of that. She had a great playing career here, and she had a great coaching career here. And I think it's hard to, and I really don't want people to stop talking about Molly and everything great she did here, because I think that's a big part of our history and who we are and who we want to continue to be in the future. The tradition here, you talk about Nyla and everything she did here and some of the great players here, like that's tradition, and I think you got to keep, talking about those things and praising those things. But I also think I'm going to put my stamp on this program, and I look forward to doing some of that going forward.
Recruiting wise, the players that have made Drury so successful, a lot of ties to Missouri. And
yeah.
the amount
in
of
the area,
and the quality basketball
yeah.
in this area is such a luxury to have right in your back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's where we'll start our recruiting, is right here in Springfield and some of the surrounding communities. Cause I think that is important. It builds a fan base. A lot of them already know Drury and the success here. So we'll definitely start there and then expand out to what we need to do. And, I think there's opportunities with some connections and things I have, even AU wise, and some of the relationships I have to get some really good players in here. And that's definitely our goal.
Coach, I'll just finish with a couple of rapid fire questions. Are you a good cook? Are you Chef Eagan?
I can cook a little bit when I have time. So during season, that's a little bit harder. But outside of season, I do enjoy some of that. Not baking, not that kind of stuff, but cooking, I do enjoy some of that.
What's your go-to if Amy was inviting all of us over
Yes.
Drury Nation for dinner? What would be on the menu?
Well, honestly, I'd probably do ribeyes because I love ribeyes.
Boom.
I'm a big steak person, red meat steak person. And then, probably some sides with that, maybe some cheesy hash browns, maybe a special rice my mom used to make. I'd do it right. You'd be pretty happy, I think.
I'll send you the invite or my address for the invite. The Harder House, which is a good sponsor we have, you got to go try the Harder House ribeye. Whoa.
Unbelievable.
My goodness.
Ribeye is my go-to, so definitely going to have to do that now.
Pretty strong cut. Are there things that you took from a player? Maybe it was a coach that said something to you that didn't sit well, that you said, when I'm in this possession, I want to make sure to do it differently so that I see their point of view and I really understand it and kind of translate it better when I'm in this spot.
Right. I think a great example of that is just how coaching has changed. From even the time when I started in coaching to now. When I started in coaching, you didn't worry as much about like having individual meetings with kids and getting maybe some of their side of thing and their input. And I think now that has really, really changed. I enjoy those individual meetings and kind of figuring out, from their perspective, what they think. And not that I always listen to it, but what they think and, as for themselves and for the program with stuff. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And I think that's just kind of how I've even developed and as a leader and it's just really understanding that, as a leader, it's not just about you, and it's about just, making sure your assistants have a voice and making sure your kids are able to speak to you and talk to you and make some adjustments in regards to those things.
All right, last two. What's on your playlist? What's an Amy Eagan playlist?
You don't even want to know.
Come on now.
You're not going to believe this, but what'd you say? Taylor Swift.
Okay.
A little bit. I also like a lot of old school rap and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, but I don't advertise that in front of our kids. I stay with Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift's a little easier, easy to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, are you having fun? I'll just end with that. Are you having fun? What a dream.
I am. I am. It is a dream come true, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's been really, really busy, but as I have said, it's been busy in a really great way. And I look forward to continuing this and building the base of our program, here in the next couple months. And man, I just can't wait till we get back to campus, hopefully soon, and get our kids back here. I miss having them around. And this time of year, we're getting to do some individual skill work with them, and not having the ability to do that, I think is hard, just because I enjoy that stuff so much.
The toughest part of your gig are these weekly radio shows you're going to have to do with Ed Beach. He asks some pressure cooker questions now. I mean, he's going to grill you.
I tell you, Ed's going to drill me all the time. I already know that. He was getting me with pregame stuff. So, no, he's awesome. And he does such a great job for us and everything that he does, and so appreciative of him, and such a great guy to work with too. So.
Well, Coach, I said I was going to borrow you for 20 minutes. I've gone over that, but let me tell you, I mean, honestly, I think the community is fortunate to have you.
Thank
Hopefully,
you.
Not only as just a basketball coach, but I think more so they've just been sort of enlightened by your charismatic personality, and you've come across really, really strongly. So we'll be rooting for you.
Okay.
Don't be a stranger, okay?
I won't.
This radio program is friendly. Most of the time.
Reach out to me anytime.
All right. Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a time out. 10:29 here on Jock 98.7 FM.